Good morning, everybody. Wisconsin's 7th Congressional District Representative Tom Tiffany is our very special guest today. Superman Day, Thursday, June 12th, 2025. For DrydenWire.com, I'm Ben Dryden, and you're watching DrydenWire Live, presented by Americans for Prosperity Wisconsin. AFP Wisconsin works to reignite the American dream and break down government barriers that hold us back from our full potential. Visit AFPWisconsin.com to learn more and join AFP to fight for more freedom for all Wisconsinites. With that, we welcome Wisconsin's 7th Congressional District Representative who joins us every second Thursday of the month, Congressman Tom Tiffany. Tom, good morning, sir, and please tell me that you agree that Superman is the greatest superhero of all time.
Well, good morning. And for those people that may just have audio today, if you're not getting the video, you are missing Superman, who is in the studio. It's so good to join you.
But I didn't get an answer. Are you trying to not to alienate the other people who believe in Thor maybe or something? You want their votes?
You know, it's just like, so I'll go to an event and there might be a raffle and I'm asked to name or pull out the winning ticket. And I'm like, you put me in a terrible position because I'm going to alienate everyone in the audience except one person. That's not the business I'm in.
He can fly, X-ray vision. All right, you can get in trouble with that one. Bulletproof. Superhuman strength. I don't know. I'm just saying. It's also a national. I think it's National Beef Jerky Day today, which is like my kryptonite. I'm not supposed to have so much sodium.
So
According to doctors, who cares?
So is this a national holiday up in Minong at Link Brothers?
It should be. And I had actually a beef stick, which is the second best thing to beef jerky. A Jack Link's beef stick this morning for breakfast. Oh my goodness! I know it's terrible.
Hey, Spooner Health.
Yeah. All right, we do have. I wrote down a couple of things I wanted to talk about. Here's one that I'm not kidding. I have not really been paying attention to this week. I haven't had time to follow this story. It's the protests regarding ICE. I just pulled this up from ABC News this morning. It says tensions are escalating between President Donald Trump and California Governor Gavin Newsom as protests against immigration and customs enforcement continue to grip Los Angeles and spread to other cities. LA Mayor Karen Bass issued an overnight curfew for about 1 square mile in downtown LA, which has been the site of clashes between police and protesters over the last 6 days. Trump has deployed 4,000 National Guardsmen, 700 Marines to LA against the wishes of Newsom and Bass. I don't have a specific question to start, rather more of a topic. So just kind of overview, what are your views and opinions about what is happening right now?
So you have ICE that wants to remove people who are illegally in this country, and they have broken the law to get here, and that is grounds for removal. But on top of it, many of those people have committed acts of arson, abuse, spousal abuse, various levels of violence, including armed robbery. I mean, you have these people who are violent criminals, and Karen Bass and Gavin Newsom take the side of the criminals once again. I mean, you just go, what's going on? And it's very evident that the goal of the Democrat Party to bring in all these people who will ultimately become voters here in the United States, because they showed back in November, they can't win with American citizens. They need non-citizens to be able to win elections. That's ultimately what this is all about, because California counts illegal aliens, and they would probably have a couple less seats in the House of Representatives, a couple less electoral votes in the presidential election if those people were not counted. So the president is just saying, we need to follow the law, and it's about time that we had a president that's following through on it.
Look, I want to ask you a question. It's not a rhetorical question. I really want to actually know. If there is a side, which is perfectly fine, I can appreciate people have their views and opinions on things. That's perfectly fine. But if the side is we don't want to deport illegal immigrants, I think then logic would dictate that means that you would prefer illegal immigrants here. That part I don't understand. Uh, have you heard an answer to that as to so why do you want illegal immigrants in our country?
Well, they'll say to you, for example, the nasty way in which my colleague from the state of Vermont said, Representative Ballant said last week, so that they can wipe our, I'll let you fill in the blank, and she said it exactly that way, so that they can wipe our butts. That's what she said. That's their view of illegal immigrants. Listen to Governor Evers. We need people that are going to be able to milk our cows. I mean, that's how they view people who are coming in illegally. I just read a really interesting data point this morning that people who have come here legally over the last, in the most recent time, last 5, 10, 15 years, came in legally, did it the right way, they can now vote. They went from voting for Democrats by like 20 or 30 points to voting, it was like by 5 or 10 points for Republicans. Because even legal immigrants understand you have to have a legal system for our country. And especially when you look at the fentanyl that's come in, the terrorists that have come in. I mean, my gosh, you got to have accountability. And that's all President Trump is attempting to do here.
We have a question here from Brian. Why do you and your fellow Republican Congress colleagues refuse to prioritize immigration reform given it's led to the current situation that has been building for decades?
Yeah, I would disagree with Brian's characterization there. I was among the people that helped write the bill last session, the Secure the Border Act, which was the best Secure the Border bill that had passed through any House of Congress. We passed it through the House, and it failed in the Senate. And so we have done that. And I anticipate that we're going to do it again. But we have a president now who is using the executive authority that he has to secure the border. Because remember, let's not forget, the border is now secure. There's very few people coming across illegally into the United States of America for the first time in decades because the president is using the authority that he has under the law to be able to do that. And when you look at the numbers that came in over the last 4 years under President Biden, that's about 2.5 million people a year. We are already seeing the results of that down on the southern border. So it's I expect that the House is going to pass that bill once again, and I hope the Senate will. We've acted once, we'll do it again.
On that last point, again from the ABC story this morning, Trump deployed 4,000 National Guardsmen and 700 Marines to L.A. against the wishes of Newsom and Bass. My very good friend, Dave Wilson, former Shelby Police Chief, he's also one of my colleagues and peers on the Washington County Board. He called me yesterday, and he was kind of filling me on stuff that I don't really understand regarding what can you send and not. And it's, I don't know. I really don't understand a lot of this stuff. But if Trump deploys 4,000 National Guardsmen and 700 Marines to L.A. against the wishes, why do you know? Is it against their wishes? Why? Do they think they don't need it? Does Trump think they do need it? Why isn't there any cohesiveness between those two entities? Or I suppose three if you include the mayor.
I mean, Governor Newsom will have to answer that question, and the mayor of Los Angeles, Karen Bass. They've got to answer the question. Why are they not securing California and the city of Los Angeles? President Trump is saying most people are law-abiding in the city of Los Angeles. They're citizens of the United States. I'm going to make sure that their lives, their homes, their property is protected, and he's going about doing this. Let's remember a few other instances where this has happened in American history. We'll go back, I think it was 1957 in the state of Arkansas, when the governor, the Democrat governor of Arkansas at the time, did not want to integrate the schools, refusing to allow black children to go into a public school. The Republican president, Dwight D. Eisenhower, had to send in federal troops in order to make sure that there was no harm done to those children and that they could go into that school. And if you want to go to the ultimate time when this happened, it was back in 1861 when there was a president by the name of Abraham Lincoln who the South said we're going to secede, and dominated by Democrats. And they said we're going to secede from the United States of America. And Abraham Lincoln said no. And he sent in the troops. And we had the bloodiest war in the history of the United States of America, which was terribly unfortunate. And I'm not saying that's going to happen again. But there seems to be this consistent pattern. And I think what's going to happen is that President Trump is going to have strong support from the American people to do what is needed here to make sure that people are coming into our country legally.
How does this end? Do you think it's going to end sooner than later, or is this is just the tip of the iceberg, right? We're going to see this all summer long, maybe even for the next 3.5 years. Is this how does this end?
So you see the rent-a-rioters are out there in Los Angeles, the various groups that, I mean, there's one group that got hundreds of thousands of dollars from the state of California, and they're among the groups that are fomenting the discontent. Remember what's going on here. They'll tell you it's organic. It's just, coming up as a result of people being frustrated. That's not what's happening. It's the same as 2020. You have these groups. Who was the major one back in 2020 that was fomenting much of this discontent? There's other groups that are doing the same thing right now out in California, and I think they're going to try to do it around the rest of America. They want to foment discontent. Karen Bass is a socialist, the mayor of Los Angeles. Her father was a communist, a self-avowed communist. She visited Castro and said great things about Cuba. And this is what socialists do. They want unrest to upend a free and Republican form of government here in the United States of America. And we cannot allow that to happen. But yeah, they're going to try to foment more discontent. The president is not going to sit back like in 2020, though, and watch it happen around the country. And I hope governors of these states don't allow it to happen like happened in 2020, including Tony Evers, because there's talk of this stuff going on in Milwaukee. I sure hope our governor does not allow that to happen like he did in 2020 in Madison, Kenosha, and Milwaukee.
Christiane, love your shirt, but it's National Superman Day. I don't know if it's National Superman Day, but it's Superman Day, June 12th. Just saying. And we have on the record that Congressman Tom Tiffany is not saying that he thinks he's the best superhero ever, but he didn't say that he wasn't. So, don't want to alienate those voters. That's funny. All right, let's move on to something else. And this is from CBS News because, as you know, right before the show, because I really don't prepare for these things that much. I do, but I kind of like it all being organic. I like Googling your name like 10 minutes before the show and seeing where you're in. This one has to do with your role in D.C. This is from CBS News. House to vote on White House rescission package to claw back $9.4 billion in funding for foreign aid, NPR, and PBS. The package would cancel $9.4 billion appropriated by Congress, looking to make permanent some of the Department of Government Efficiency spending cuts. Its primary focus is slashing foreign aid, but it would also essentially cut off federal funding for NPR and PBS. The rescissions package includes $1.1 billion in cuts for the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, which provides funding for NPR and PBS. The White House has targeted the entities, claiming they have spread radical woke propaganda disguised as news. Is that going to be something that you're going to be voting on after the show?
Yes, I'm anticipating we're going to be voting for this this morning. Yes.
Yeah.
And so remember what happened. DOGE came in at the start of the Trump presidency and it identified these hundreds of billions of dollars that are being wasted across the federal government, something people across America kind of intuitively know. They know that there's so much waste out there. Well, this is the first package of rescissions. Rescissions is a process where the executive branch sends us in Congress a list of things that have been authorized to be funded, and they said, we think you should no longer fund those, and so let's have a rescission and no longer allow it to be funded. Mm-hmm. So all it takes is a majority vote in both houses, does not take cloture, 60 votes in Senate, just majority vote. And so this is the first one that is being done. And, you laid it out quite well. One of the first things identified by DOGE was the USAID funding. What was there, $3 million for Iraqi Sesame Street. There was $1 million for voter ID in Haiti. Whereas Democrats don't even want to have voter ID in the United States of America. I don't know why they want to have it in Haiti. And but there's hundreds of millions of dollars. That's the first part, and it's about $8 billion in USAID funding that would be pulled back through the rescissions process. We're going to vote on that this morning. And then the bigger part of it, because public broadcasting has always been a real hotly contested issue, very visible issue. It's about $1 billion that would be taken from the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. I support this rescissions package because we need to root out waste, fraud, and abuse. We're $37 trillion in debt. It's led to inflation, the high cost of living we've had over the last number of years, led to higher interest rates. The federal government has to get its act under control because, I mean, when you look at it, the bond markets, which set interest rates, they've been steadily creeping up. They're not confident that we are willing in Congress to really do the hard work of deficit reduction. And that costs every American, and it'll cost them even more if we don't at some point get serious about this. So I'm going to vote for it. And I think the Corporation for Public Broadcasting should be like any other broadcaster, including someone like you. I believe the money should be given willingly, not taken from taxpayers, and it's time. It's time for that to be done. Maybe 50, 60 years ago, like northern Wisconsin, when there were very few choices, maybe that was a good thing to have at that point. But like many programs, sometimes they outlive their usefulness. I think this is one of them.
Yeah. We have a question here, and I apologize. There's a whole bunch of comments and questions. I'm trying to read some of them and skip through. Here's one. Amy Thomas, again, if we are in debt, what is President Trump doing with the money he is getting from selling citizenship cards? Yeah, I don't even know anything about citizenship cards.
Yeah, so I understand what you're saying there, Amy. Citizenship cards have not been enacted. You know, it was a very high profile issue when he threw the idea out. I'm not excited about that. I don't think we should sell citizenship. I don't think that bill is going to go anywhere. Sure. And currently, there is no selling of citizenship for the United States of America or via citizenship cards.
Last month, because you come on once a month, second Thursday of every month, we talked about the big, beautiful bill, as it's been called. So I don't want to rehash all of that. Where is that in the Senate? They're kind of picking it apart a little bit, right? As you know, that's just how it works. Do you think that's still going to get done?
Yeah, the Senate is reviewing it, and you know, yes, it's going to get done. It's just a matter of what form it is. I mean, what I'm urging the Senate to do is follow the lead of Senator Johnson and find even more savings. I hope they can find more savings than we did in the House version. So I would guess they probably pass a bill. I mean, Senator Cruz said yesterday he expects to see a bill pass out by July 4th, but it probably won't be the same bill as we have. It'll end up being conferenced. In other words, the two houses get together and work out the differences. I would guess at this point it probably passes by the end of July when we break for the August recess.
Oh, got it. All right, we have more things to talk about. We'll get to that in 15 seconds after a word from Spooner Health.
Compassion is at the center of everything we do. It's rooted in who we are and why we're here. It unites us as providers, neighbors, and as a community. Learn more at spoonerhealth.com.
All right. Good morning.
Hey, Ben, just real quick. I do have a hard stop at 10 o'clock this morning because we will be voting.
Yeah, no problem. And we have a couple things I wrote down here. The next one, this was, I didn't write down. It's either AP or maybe it was Wisc Politics. I can't remember. This morning I looked this up. This is a Wisconsin issue. Republican lawmakers push to limit Wisconsin governor's partial veto power. Governors of both parties have had expansive partial veto powers for nearly a century. Right now, the governor is able to veto numbers, words, and punctuation in spending bills to alter the meaning or amounts. Governor Tony Evers recently used this power in 2023 to secure a 400-year education funding increase. I know you and I have talked about that in the past. To curtail that power, several Republican lawmakers are sponsoring a resolution that would change the state constitution to only allow the governor to veto full sections of an appropriations bill or reduce spending. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so what's at issue here for those that are not familiar with this? This is the governor's ability to be able to strike commas or dashes or periods that they can go down and really change the intent of what has been passed in the budget by the legislature. And we saw it with the 400-year veto, where Governor Evers connected a bunch of dots and eliminated a few things and basically created what became the 400-year veto, which allows a property tax increase for 400 years on the people of the state of Wisconsin. And people are like, no, that's not what the line item veto is about. And in particular, in that case, it actually increased spending. The line item veto at its very core was meant to remove wasteful spending. That's why the line item veto has been implemented in many states across the country. And so it's basically been bastardized at this point. And the Evers Supreme Court upheld his decision allowing the 400-year veto. So now the legislature is saying, let's put this in the Constitution, that we need to constrain this ability in regards to the line item veto and make only vetoes for segments of a bill, that it not be used to create whole new policies within the bill.
Do you think that so obviously the legislature can go through that, whether it's a Republican or a Democrat or a split legislature, but ironically, this is going to go to the governor, right, to sign or to veto. Is there a governor, Republican or Democrat, that would ever actually sign that?
No, they wouldn't, but what you do is in a constitutional amendment. And I think that's what they're talking about, where it goes to 2 sessions of the legislature, voted on by the people, and then it becomes a law without the governor's signature. That's probably how they're proposing, is via the constitutional amendment. The thing that you need to be careful about something like this, whether you're Republican or a Democrat, remember, it's not going to be a Democrat that's always going to be the governor of the state of Wisconsin. And let's say you had a Governor, Adam Jarko. Would you want him to have line item veto authority? Democrat?
I love Adam, but no.
Would you want him to have that line item veto authority, Democrats?
Funny.
That's the question you got to ask in this situation.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. Hey, speaking of governors, so last month we're starting this new show. It's with Emily Gall. She's in Burnett County. She's a board supervisor over there. So we just started this new show. We're kind of talking about more politics and just views and hot topic kind of things. And one of the things we discussed was term limits, and she was for having term limits. And I'm kind of a 50-50 on the issue. I can see the goods, the pros to it, and I can see the cons, and we may solve, quote unquote, some problems, but we're kind of creating some other ones. I would be okay with maybe the governor, right? Kind of like the president is two-year term, and maybe the governor being a 2-year term. I guess I'd be okay with kind of a starting point there. Then it gets a little wonky, right? If it's a term limit, Senate, 6 years, is it a 2-year term? That's 12 years you're in, but in Congress, or if you're in the Assembly, that's only a 4-year term. It's just kind of weird. And then how far down do you go? Does that go to sheriffs, DAs, judges, county board, mayors, city council, school boards? What are your thoughts on term limits? What are your views and opinions?
So first of all, Wisconsin does not have term limits. And at the end of the day, I mean, as a purist, I would say term limits are exercised by the people. If you don't want someone in office anymore, then remove them from office. But, we've seen the career politicians that are around for 30 or 40 years, and people get really frustrated by it. So I have supported term limit bills. The one that you just referenced, 2 terms for senators, so that'd be 12 years, 3 terms, which would be 6 years. I think it's 3 terms, 6 years. For the House of Representatives, I think 6 years is too short. I think it should be a little bit longer. And I would cite a case in point over in Michigan. Their state legislature has term limits, as well as the governor. And I'm probably good with the governor's term limits of 8 years, much like
I think so. I'd be okay
much
with that.
like the president.
Yeah.
But in Michigan, they have term limits of 8 years for both state Senate and for their state House. I think that's too short. It should be a little bit longer because they've turned over the power to the bureaucrats down in Lansing in Michigan. So they've actually gained more power, the bureaucracy, and we've seen the power of the bureaucracy here in Washington, D.C., which more people more often call the swamp. And we've seen the power that they have gained. Do we really want to do that? So I think it needs to be done in a way that does not empower the bureaucracy, yet has some accountability to the voters so that people just don't become career politicians.
Yeah, career politicians, and then so you would be able to under that though. You could be in the assembly, and when your quote unquote time is up, you could run for Senate, right?
Yeah, that
And
is
then
true.
run something else. So I don't think it really solves the career politicians part. And I always look at it just from a business standpoint
Fair
of
enough.
the institutional knowledge that you have. Again, it's kind of a 50-50 issue for me. I don't really have a strong opinion, but uh, people that are in their jobs longer, they're just better at their jobs. I've been on the Washington County Board for just over a year. Dude, I know like 5% of my job. Maybe like 20% tops. But there's still so much of the fiscal part. I don't see how all these things are connected. That's why we have all these committees. I can't imagine if like in six years, I think I'll finally just be getting, like, I get it now. And in most positions, you just get better as you're doing. And I understand there is concerns to that, and I totally get it. But yeah, the bureaucracy and also lobbyists, that's a concern. Yeah, I don't know. I was just curious. Is there anything in that you would be okay with in Wisconsin specifically? Would you be okay with the governor? I think you already said yes. Would you be okay with the Senate being that, would you say 2-year term, right? That'd be 8 years. No, that's not long enough. I mean,
Sure.
should we even be going down that road? Do you think this is important enough to actually, we really need to put this, we need to get this done? Or is it kind of
Yeah. Yeah, a good question. I mean, if the people want to do it, I'm fine with it. I support term limits bills. I just think that we need to do it in a smart manner. As far as the state of
okay.
Wisconsin, I'd probably start with a two-term
Yeah,
limit for the governor.
I would start there too. All right, we have a few minutes left here. What else do you want to talk about that we didn't get a chance to talk about? What else is going on?
Hey, I saw former Sheriff Fitzy, your great friend,
Yeah.
down at the Barron County Dairy Breakfast, and no longer has a job, right?
Well, he does, just not as a sheriff anymore. He works at Mosaic now.
What is it? Is it doing the honeydew list or
Yep.
what?
No, he's the director of public relations for Mosaic Technologies. So,
Oh, terrific for him.
yeah, it
So
is
anyhow,
actually.
yeah, we were down at the Barron County Dairy Breakfast. It was terrific. It was down in Hillsdale and just south of Barron. Just really terrific. Thousands of people that were there. Great fun doing the dairy breakfast, and there's more going on here throughout the region here as we go through June Dairy Month. Be sure to attend one.
Next month, so we do this the second Thursday of the month. Are you going to be, when does session get finished? You said July earlier, I think, right? Do you remember when it's finished?
Yeah, let me just look at we take our August break as of July 24th.
Oh, okay. So you'll still probably be in DC, or maybe you won't be, but okay. So we still have one more
Yeah,
where you're
July
kind of
20. That's a Thursday, right? Thursday, July 24th.
yeah, well, that's your last day, but we'll be doing it on the second Thursday, whatever day that is.
We'll be
Uh,
in session.
okay. Father's Day is coming up this weekend. Plans? Hey, what's the best Father's Day gift you ever received?
Whew.
Oh,
The best Father's Day gift is when my daughters come home,
I knew you were going to say that.
and
Such,
two of them
such,
are.
but it's
I think
actually
two of
true
them are
because
going to.
that's the same thing for me. Just time with them, right? That's the most important thing, especially now that the three of them are moved out. So just having quality time with them, yeah, that is actually it. I mean, a
Yeah,
12
that's
drill wouldn't kill you, but
that's the best part. Yeah.
All right, what do you have coming up this weekend?
Yeah, I'm going to be home most of the weekend.
What?
I'm here through Friday. We're going. My wife came out this week. She rarely comes out to Washington D.C. We're going to go to the White House picnic tonight. There is a picnic at the White House. Never done it, so that should be great fun. Head home tomorrow, and then be home for the weekend. We'll be busy next week, and really looking forward to Father's Day. And I wish all those fathers out there happy Father's Day.
Awesome. Hey, I want to throw this in because I just saw it. And again, I apologize if I haven't seen all the questions here. Since we have 2 more minutes, the Congressional Budget Office has determined the big beautiful bill will add 2.5 to 3.5 trillion in national debt, which triggers 500 billion in cuts to Medicare alone. Why do you support this?
The Congressional Budget Office, Brian submitted that question. The Congressional Budget Office has been consistently wrong on a whole bunch of stuff. Let me give you one example. With the Inflation Reduction Act, which was actually the green fantasy bill to build more wind and solar, the Congressional Budget Office measured that at about $250, $300 billion, something like that. It was less than $500 billion. Well, it turns out now they've revised it a couple years later, and it's going to be over $1 trillion that are going to be paid in subsidies to these rich wind and solar developers. And so the CBO does not have a strong track record in regards to that. I would just say to Brian, I don't accept the premise of the question that you put there. We are not cutting on Medicaid at all. We are reforming it to make sure that illegal aliens do not get funding, and also those who are able-bodied and can work, that they should work. And I think most of the American people agree with that.
Yeah, but I think you guys have a messaging problem, though, because that doesn't seem to be resonating. Either people don't want to hear it because they already believe what they want to believe, which that's understandable. I get it. But, you've said that, and I've seen that from a lot of other people. Actually, this is what it is, but people still don't want to believe it.
Sure. No, fear-mongering works really good, and that happens all the time. We're delivering the truth, and we want to reform the program. We want to protect it and preserve it for those who are disabled, the pregnant moms, the low-income people that this program was set up for. It's going to go broke if it is not reformed, and it's going to go broke because there's people who should not be on it, like able-bodied adults that can work, that are sitting on their couch at home. That cannot be. Otherwise, the program's going to go broke. So I consistently have messaged this, and I think all Republicans, I think everyone should be out there talking about how we're reforming this program to save it.
Yeah.
Hey, I got to run.
All right, man. Thanks so much. Special thank you to Wisconsin's 7th Congressional District Representative Tom Tiffany for taking time to come on for a chat today. And thank you for all of your comments and questions. I'll see you next Thursday when I'll be chatting with Spooner Police Chief Mike Kronberger. So until then, and Tom's gone. For DrydenWire.com, I'm Ben Dryden saying thank you for watching, and as always, have a blessed day.